Hey, welcome to this training. And in this training, I'm pretty much going to share with you how you could start and scale your marketing agency in 2021. So these are the four pillars I highly recommend if you're just starting your marketing agency or have already started and just have trouble scaling up to that next level. So these are the four pillars that I have used to scale my own marketing agency. I work with life insurance agents, and I'll share those with you right now. So let's dive in. So the first one is picking a niche. I know it seems very simple. However, this is a common thing that's pretty much overlooked, especially with beginner agency owners. The reason being is because they seem like they think that they're able to work with all these different niches. And the problem is you're adding so many variables in the beginning, and pretty much you want to be seen as an authority. And pretty much is a perfect way for you to differentiate yourself from others by you're only focusing on one specific niche. So that actually leads me to my next point. So you understand their niche, their lingo better, their industry better over time, which means your product or service is also going to get better for them over time. You'll be able to develop better campaigns and really understand their audience as well. So when you're developing campaigns, your your client has a prospective audience that they're targeting for those campaigns. So you will be able to better understand what types of offers you're able to put out, what is your targeting, what pretty much what makes this audience tick and pretty makes them want to fill out an application, book an appointment, or whatever it is you're getting for your client, and pretty much your service will get just better and better over time. So, and as I mentioned, it's a perfect way for you to differentiate yourself, and you pretty much are eliminating variables when you pick a niche. Now, here are the 5 questions you could probably ask yourself if you're in the beginning stages of picking a niche. And because I know lots of people get stuck when they're picking a niche, they're overthinking since there's so many niches out there. So if you're having a hard time picking a niche, these are the 5 questions you could ask yourself in order for you to pick a niche. So here are the 5 questions. So the first one is, does the industry have a product or service that's more than $400? So the reason being is because if you're in the beginning stages, sometimes it's not always easy, to get results for your clients. And if that's the case, if you're working with people who have a certain product or service that costs more than $400, it will be easier for you to provide a return on an investment. Also, this problem is actually not just only for beginners. Sometimes, marketing at times can be a little bit tricky. There's you're testing lots of things. You're testing the copy, the creative, the targeting, the offer, and there's lots of variables with marketing. Marketing is kind of like the stock market; it has its ups and downs. However, over time, is always going up. So even if you're advanced, sometimes it may not always be possible, to really exceed, the guarantee that you're setting for your client. So if your client is selling a product or service that costs $400, you'll be in a better position to provide a return on the investment. Now, there are other uh, pretty much ways you're able to get around this. So, for example, with e-commerce, there's lots of e-commerce who are doing very well and they don't have a product that's $400. It's probably a product that only costs about $80. And it's actually a bit different because, from when e-commerce is online, so when you place an ad online and they're taken immediately onto the page that it's being advertised for that certain product, so they're able to buy the product immediately there. Now, as opposed, let's say if your niche is restaurants. Now, restaurants is a niche. I know some people who are doing very well with restaurants. However, it's a very tricky because Let's say if you're sending them over for dinner, which is the most expensive meal. So for dinner, average for two people in the night, it's $100. Now, if the restaurant owners are paying you $2,000 per month, you need to at least send them at least 20 customers in person for dinner. Now, that those are more customers, and that's only just to break even. Now, if you want your client to have a huge return on investment, you need to at least send them 25, 30 customers so they could profit that first month. However, you also take into consideration the lifetime value because most likely most some of those customers are gonna come back. So there's still potential. However, most clients like to say, all right, what is my return on investment for this month? And so it has its every niche has their pros and cons. So it's a matter of just pretty much finding how to make it work. Now this is pretty much like if you're in the beginning stages are uncertain what is to pick, definitely just go one with that has a product or service more than $400. It'll be easier for you to provide a return on investment and may just pretty much make things easier on your end in the beginning. So here's the next one. The next one is how long is their sales cycle? Now, the reason why this is important is because most clients want to see what is the return on investment for that month. Since they're paying you a monthly retainer, they want to see what is the return on investment for that month. So, for example, real estate. Real estate has a long sales cycle. Their sales cycle is at least a minimum of 45 days. 45 days. Now, they wouldn't be able to see the return on investment for that first month. Maybe not even a second, maybe up into the third month. And if they're paying you 2,000 that first month, then the second, and nothing is, they're not getting any, they're not selling any homes. It's gonna be a bit hard for some of them to justify to continue paying you. However, it's marketing. It works, over the long term. Things are just gonna get better, and they just have to, take that into consideration. That they have a long sales cycle, so it pretty much has its ups and downs. Now, for life insurance, um, I work in life insurance. So for life insurance, it's usually a 45-minute phone call. My clients have received commission from $100 up to 1,000, depending on their policy. So that's a very short sales cycle. So that's a pro. But as I mentioned, every niche has their pros and cons. And and ideally, if you're picking a niche, ideally, you pick one that has a short sales cycle rather than a very long one. So let's go into the next one. So the next one is, are there more than 40,000 businesses in this niche? Now, the reason why this is important is because when you're advertising on Facebook, you're advertising to thousands upon thousands of people are seeing your ad, right? For your services. Now, there's going to be a come at a point in time when you pretty much like tap out the niche. It's at a point that it's very small. So there's a very limited amount of businesses that are in this niche. So you want to ensure that you have a high number, at least 40,000 businesses within that niche. Okay. And then the next one is, does the industry advertise a lot? So if the industry advertises a lot, they'll be more open to having a conversation with you about advertising. If you could advertise on their behalf and pretty much run their Facebook marketing campaigns, right? So to kind of share an example, when I was first starting off, my first niche was financial advisors. I know some people who are crushing it with financial advisors. However, part of the problem I was facing in the beginning was just the majority of financial advisors don't advertise. They just don't advertise. Most of their business, when I was speaking to lots of financial advisors, they mentioned they get most of their business through referrals, networking events, LinkedIn, and they're just not open to advertising. And also another thing is, since the finance industry is very heavily regulated, it's after, let's say, after that you finally do manage, to get them on a client and they say yes, that your campaign is going to have to go through a review process through uh, I'm not sure who checks the campaigns, but someone either maybe their managers or someone higher up has to check it and ensure that it's compliant. So there's then the compliance issue. So and so that's the reason, like in the beginning, definitely like it was hard for me, to really make the finance industry work. It's a very tricky niche. Now, like let's say if you're doing car dealerships, they advertise a lot. So they advertise a lot. Lawyers advertise a lot. So it's a difference here. So lawyers advertise a lot. Financial barely never advertises. So it's a difference here. So definitely, this is an important question you could ask. Does the niche advertise a lot? And you could pick your niche based around this question. And now, then the next one is the industry good at sales? Now, the reason this is important is because let's say if you're sending them leads, right, and they're unable to convert those leads, it becomes a problem because now they're saying they're beginning to say, oh, it's these leads are bad, um, they weren't qualified, or they're not serious, or whatever excuses they're wanting to make. Now, if they're aggressive with sales and actively training sales, like for example, car dealerships, they're salesmen, right? They actively train. So it's a difference there because you wouldn't have to train them on sales. They're already doing training themselves. Now let's say if your clients are chiropractors. Now chiropractors, they're also salesmen, even though they don't see themselves as salesmen, but they're also salesmen. Real estate agents, sales. Dentists, sales. I mean, pretty much everyone's in sales. However, there's just some industries that don't see themselves as salesmen, and however they are salesmen because the goal is to pretty much convert this prospective new patient into a patient, right? So, and for going back to the example for chiropractors, is since they don't see themselves as salesmen, they don't train, they don't have any scripts, any routines that they have to follow in order to convert this lead into a patient. So then this comes down back to the marketing. Maybe you're gonna have to provide some sales training material for them so they can improve their sales process. Now, if you're in the beginning, this may be a little tricky for you. Now, if you're you have access to more resources, you have a bit more time so you could train them maybe a bit on sales. This could definitely work. Okay, so these are the 5 questions I highly recommend if you're just starting off. Of course, some are more important than the others. However, these are generally like the 5 I have found that these are like definitely like the 5 questions you should ask yourself. Is this a good niche or not for me to go? And just go all in. Okay. Now just this disclaimer: every niche has their pros and cons. There isn't really no perfect niche. Okay. Now, pillar number 2. So now that you have picked that niche, now how do you create an offer, an irresistible offer for that niche? And we will dive into that. So the 3 components to an offer. I use these 3: the guarantee, the unique mechanism, and having a risk reversal. So what does that look like? Share that with you. So practical example, life insurance. So with life insurance, the problem is on how they get leads is they cold call, which is not very time efficient, wasting so much time calling a bunch of uninterested leads. They do direct mail as well. So direct mail, sending a bunch of mailers, hoping someone's gonna respond and and become a new client. The next one is they buy leads from lead vendors, which are shared and they're sold multiple times over for with other life insurance agents. The fourth one is networking events. The reason why this is a problem is because most agents I had spoken to, they mentioned that networking events is not very time efficient. They waste so much time in networking events, so it's not very good use of their time. Now, here's pretty much my guarantee for them: 20 qualified and exclusive booked appointments. So they're qualified, meaning they go through a qualification process like the survey, calendar. They're exclusive as well. So I'm not sharing these appointments with my other clients, and they're appointments. So you don't have to, have the lead there and get them into an appointment. They're already there for you on your calendar. Okay. Now, to break down the guarantee, the unique mechanism, and the risk reversal, here it is. The guarantee is 30 booked appointments. The unique mechanism is just show up and close system. Since the leads are pretty much qualified and they're already booked onto your calendar, they just have to show up and close, right? Now, the risk reversal is if I don't hit that guarantee, which is the 30, sorry, this actually should say 20 booked appointment, not 30. So I made a mistake there, but it's actually 20 booked appointments. So if I don't hit the 20 booked appointments, they have a money back plus $500 for wasting their time. So I'm pretty much reversing it. There's no risk. My unique mechanism should just show up and close system. The guarantee is 20 appointments. Now, so that you could apply the same thing for your niche as well. So you could say 20 leads. This is also really depend on how sophisticated that market is. Now, what I mean by sophisticated is, for example, chiropractors. Chiropractors are very sophisticated. They have advertised a lot on Facebook. They have been with multiple marketing agencies. So if you offer them 20 leads, that's not really gonna it's not gonna have them convinced that they should, move on with your service because 20 leads is nothing for them. Now, if you offer 20 patients in the door, it's a difference now. Now, if you offer 20 leads for a lawyer would be more open to hearing that rather than a chiropractor. So it's a difference there. So it really depends how sophisticated your market is. And so the next one is unique mechanism. So what is the unique mechanism that you have? Maybe you pre-qualify them. Maybe you have them prepay before they show up to the appointment. So it could be called the prepaid and show up system, or the prepaid system, or something. I just made that up, but something along those lines. And what is the risk reversal? So what happens if you don't hit that guarantee? Maybe you don't get their money back. Maybe it's just you continue working until you hit that guarantee. So you want to reverse that risk for your prospective client. Okay. And the third one is appointments. Now, most agency owners cannot get appointments even if their life depended on it. And I actually used to be one of them. I could not get an appointment. A busy month for me was 4 appointments. That was a very busy month for me, 4 appointments. And now pretty much like the norm is pretty much getting 6 to 10 appointments per day. And I'm going to share with you what those are for me. So when you're in the beginning stages, you definitely want to have 4 to 5 prospecting channels. Actually, not any stage. Sorry, I had misspoke there. Any stage, you always want to have 4 to 5 prospecting channels, and definitely just only double down on what works the best for you. Okay, so here are pretty much the main channels: Facebook ads, cold email, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Okay, so I'll break each of these down for you. So the first one is Facebook ads, and I would say about 80% of my appointments come through Facebook ads. So here's the ironic part though. You know, most agency owners are telling other businesses that they should advertise in order for them to grow their businesses, but they themselves don't advertise themselves to get appointments in order for them to grow their own business. And it's actually pretty funny because I actually didn't do it myself, and until I started, dabbling into Facebook ads. This is pretty much where 80% of my appointments come from. And if you're in the beginning stages, I definitely recommend for you to start off with lead forms, and so this way you're able to test the copy, the creative, the headline, your audience. So yes, so as I mentioned, you're able to test out the copy, the creative, the audience, the targeting, and pretty much the targeting I do is I target just on job titles and their employers, and I leave the age range and the location open. So I just let pretty much Facebook's algorithm do its thing, and I just want to target both on those job titles and employers. Now for cold email. So the first thing is you first want to scrape the list. Ideally, you script the every business email and phone number that you're able to find. So you scrape the list, and the software I use is D7 Lead Finder. You send 500 to 1,000 emails per day. Now, you won't start off at 500 to 1,000 emails per day. You're going to start off at about 10, 20 emails per day. And little by little, as you're warming up your account, you're going to add in more emails per day that you're sending. So you will want to send at least 500 to 1,000 emails per day. Okay. Now, the third prospecting channel is LinkedIn. So, first, LinkedIn is a professional network. You want to have a good headshot photo that people are able to see you. Ideally, you're smiling in it. You want to have your headline targeting that basically speaks to your market. What is it that you're doing? So, for example, mine is I help insurance agents generate 20 booked appointments per month, and you want to have the body. So in the body, what is it that pretty much what you do? What are the problems within this industry? So for example, the problems I have is that they cold call, networking events, buying shared leads, and how this is a problem, and pretty much what is the solution. And then at the bottom, the call to action. So after they see that, pretty much what do you want them to do? So of course you want them to schedule a phone call with you. So you want to see it like pretty much like a funnel, your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so that's the third one. Now here's the fourth one. So Facebook is the same process. Good headshot photo. You want to have in your bio basically like a headline that speaks to your market. So if a prospective client comes onto your Facebook profile, they know exactly what is it that you do and how you're able to help them. And pretty much the type of post that you want to post on your Facebook profile are pretty much, testimonials, case studies, or you just simply being normal. So it's okay, to keep it like 80, no, 50% business, 50%, personal. And then also you also want to have call to actions as well. So for example, if you're posting testimonials on your Facebook profile or case studies, results, you want to have, pretty much, highlight what was the problem of this client before they started working with you, what was the process, and pretty much what was that transformation and that call to action. So you want to start connecting with people on Facebook who are within your target market. So, for example, if you're working with real estate agents, you want to go find them into real estate groups and start connecting with them and start having those conversations. Now, Instagram. So, Instagram, I don't prospect on Instagram. So, however, I'm sort of familiar with the process. I know someone else who does um, dental, works with dentists, and he finds lots of his prospective clients who are then eventually clients later on through Instagram. It's pretty much it's the same process. Have a good headshot photo, a bio that speaks, directly to your market. You post results, testimonials, and you also being yourself as well. And pretty much the process is you will search by hashtags. So for example, if your niche is dentist, you search the hashtag dentist or dental practices. So anyone who's hashtagging their posts, you will be able to see those posts and you start connecting with them and start having those conversations. And then of course you want to have call to action. So if someone sees your profile or sees your posts, testimonials, what do you want them to do? So you want to have that call to action, which is to book a phone call with you. Now, full disclaimer, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and cold email, since those are organic methods, organic, it's like going to the gym. So if you're wanting to lose weight, you're not going to lose weight just by going one time. It has to be consistent over time, and things are just going to start to compound. So that's the thing about organic. Organic is very powerful, and it's about building up that base and just keep chipping at it little by little, and eventually you'll lose weight. You will get clients. So it's the same process like going to the gym. So Instagram, LinkedIn, cold email, and Facebook. Since all of these are organic methods, it takes time to build. Okay. Now, the fourth pillar is sales. Now, I actually remember when I was first starting off, I could not close even if my life depended on it. And it was at a point I seriously didn't know what I was doing wrong until I started recording my phone calls. I started, reading my script. I thought it was my script. And it's never the script, it's the person always behind who's delivering that script. So I changed that process and started asking better questions as well. And I actually started working on myself on, my tone. How do I deliver my offer, and pretty much really also listening to your prospect as well, because you want to build that trust with your prospect as well. In order for you to build that trust is simply by listening and really understanding where they are and where they're trying to go. So they want to see, you want them to see you as this, that you really have their best interest in mind. And pretty much, the best way to do that is simply listening, asking the right questions, and just really listening to the prospect. So we'll dive into the sales. So I usually ask questions on four criterias. And the first one is, what is the problem? What is the pain that they're currently going through in their business? So since These prospects are on a phone call here with you. They're obviously on a phone call with you because they have a problem, they have a pain that they want to move away from. And so you want to uncover those and pretty much bring those up to light. All right, so how and pretty much bring those up to light and amplify those problems and those pain questions. So ask questions around problems and pain in order for the prospect to really see, that they actually have a serious problem in their business that needs to be fixed. So the second one is impact and urgency. So what are the impacts of those problems? So you're asking questions around problems and their pain. Now, what are the impacts of those problems now? Okay, so you want to definitely ask questions. And so this would actually lead to them pretty much, realizing um, they know they need to get this fixed. For example, if you're asking the problem is they have been at $3,000 per month. Well, okay, Mr. Prospect, so you're currently been at $3,000 per month. How long have you been at 3,000 per month? Now, it's a problem there because if they have been at $3,000 per month for the last year, 2, 3 years, now it's a huge impact there, right? So that's a very long time, lots of missed opportunities. Maybe it's extra time that they've been working on their business, they've been losing money, so it has a huge impact. Now what if they don't solve this in the future? How would they go about their way? Now, that also has another impact as well, because if they continue doing the same thing that they have been doing for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, that's a huge problem. So this is pretty much the prospect is going to realize, all right, this is a serious problem, and I've actually been doing the same thing for the last 2 to 3 years. I definitely need to change this. So this is how pretty much you eliminate the timing objection. So you create that urgency that this is something that they need to have fixed, immediately. Now, the third criteria is revenue. Now, revenue is very important to ask because since you're selling business growth, obviously the prospect is currently at a current situation and they have their desired goals. They have a desired revenue they want to get to. And that's the reason they're on a phone call with you. So it's very important that you get their numbers. And it's also very crucial, especially when you're selling high ticket, and which in most cases you will be, because you're selling high retainer services for a minimum of $1,000. So you have to get their revenue. And the fourth one is their decision criteria. So essentially, decision criteria is simply asking the prospect how would you know once you have found the solution to this current problem that they're having. So pretty much you're wanting to find out, how do they make decisions, and pretty much once you're able to extract enough data from them, you're able to position yourself as pretty much as the vehicle in order to get them from where they are to where they're wanting to go. So during these four criteria, when you're asking questions around these four criteria, you essentially want to see it as that you're collecting ammunition. And then towards the end, once you're presenting your offer, you're pretty much positioning yourself as the vehicle to bridge them from where they are to where they're wanting to go. And you want to see it as you're collecting ammunition, and pretty much any objection that comes in at the end, once you ask them questions about the problem, how urgent is to solve this problem, their revenue, their decision criteria, you could use their own responses against them if any objections come up. But this is how pretty much I ask questions based around these four criterias, which I have found that has been extremely helpful. I have also shared these with other people as well. They have found it helpful as well. So I hope you have found this short training very helpful for you as well. Of course, if you want further help on how you could start and scale your marketing agency, or you started your agency but haven't been able to crack the code on scaling, then definitely reach out. Book a free agency advisory session where you and I would take a look pretty much at your agency and see where you are, where you're wanting to go. And if it's the right fit, awesome, we'll invite you into the program and get you started and scaling up to that next level. So schedule an appointment with me and I'll talk to you soon.